Hello there. This is a level design breakdown of a Metro 2033 inspired Blockout built in Unreal Engine 5. The theme for the level was retrieval, and I wanted to focus on routes and decision points, close combat encounters, and environmental storytelling. Let's take a look.
You're in position. From here you should be able to see the old surface entrance to the metro. That's where you'll find the artifact from the old world. Radio once you have it. Out.
Okay, so the first thing I wanted to do was to present a clear goal or objective to the player. In this instance, it's the landmark straight ahead, the old entrance to the metro tunnel. Player has to make their way back down through a ruined apartment, and I kind of imagined the player making their way underground, and they'd have some sort of traversal challenges. And some steps leading up to a gate room. The player comes across the first puzzle of the game, but before they do that, they could check behind them to see signs of a battle with a fallen soldier. So the players enter the gate room. There's some sort of leading lines here to help players sort of notice the valve for the door, which is the gate, should I say, which is closed. The valve is actually locked at this moment, similar to how the original Metro game did it. They have to flip this switch first, the light goes green, and then the valve works. The valve kind of only opens halfway, opens the gate halfway, and the players can make their way crouch underneath. Again, see signs of a battle. And players can see some more sort of environmental storytelling. The door's being blown off the hinges, again indicating there may have been a kind of battle to get through here. There's a little bit of discovery and exploration with this side room. Players can kind of enter and pick up a few extra rounds for the shotgun, and then make their way further up. Players will run into a booby trap here, which they can disarm or jump over. Usually better to disarm. And then players can finally make it through to the tunnel and come across their first encounter. So players now have a little bit of a time here to sort of assess this patrolling enemy in front of them. There's a little sort of gaps between the railings, so players can kind of see a patrolling enemy, and then they can make them move wherever they want it to do. Whoop, some strange physics there. This section of the level funnels players down the right hand side of a metro train. There is also some more pickups here, another dead roamer in the tunnels. And it funnels players down the right hand side. Eventually they can come across a open section. They reveal and open to a campfire with a patrolling guard. There are options here for the player. There is a door to the left. They could choose to avoid the enemy after observing the patrol route, or they could choose to take them out. So one way to do this is you can also observe from the metro train a bit more safety and kind of assess the patrolling player's route, and it also gives visibility on another route to the right, which we'll talk about in a second. Patrolling guard, we can take him out before he reacts. The dot to the left is the route, but we'll just take a check on the right to see a patrolling guard in the other room. Luckily, he wasn't alerted to our shotgun, so we'll take this door anyway. That door is actually locked, so we're actually going to have to go through. Quick reload there, as I wasn't paying attention. Had a little bit of a strange occurrence there. Okay, well, it's clear, so we can kind of go and pull the knife switch, which should open the door, allowing us access up to the surface. Again, just a quick look around here before we leave the area, just some environmental storytelling, a campfire with a sort of a kettle for tea, and unfortunately someone was hung here. I remember reading in the books the Fourth Reich would kind of take over stations and then they'd kind of hang people if they didn't align to their views. So I kind of wanted to include that along with the sort of little hints of like the tea and the campfires in the tunnels. Okay, now we can kind of head up this ladder back to the surface. So again, another sort of abandoned building. So from here, players can kind of make out the landmark from the beginning of the level, sort of reinforcing that they're on the right track. There's also two options here, left and right, and to the left is a guard patrolling, who nearly saw me. And then what we can do is, again, wait for cover, and then we can kind of assess where it may be. Looks like he was patrolling an abandoned sort of building. Again, there's some pickups in here to collect. Reload. He took some damage before, so it'd be good for the health. Okay. So we can check out the entrance to the metro tunnel, sort of the old Dead Sea. We'll continue over this little bridge. Another booby trap to kind of disarm, and then we're faced with another room. Oh, and another guard down there. Again, another pickup. Again, this section is kind of just sort of a reveal to kind of show that the Dead Sea is, the player is exploring the Dead Sea up on the surface. I mean, ideally, we kind of want maybe a gas mask here as well to sort of reinforce the survival elements. But players can now sort of see down here there's a hole in the ground where the road has collapsed, and they can now jump down to one of the cars, the vans, and make their way through this container and take a look down. Again, there's some pickups down there on the ground, sort of showing which way. There's some sort of shape theory here with things sort of pointing downwards and around the corner, just to kind of reinforce the route for the player should take. Slide down a little bit, and the car kind of pointing around. Some debris from the tunnel showing some breadcrumbs where the player should be going. So down through the tunnel. And they land on a couple of metro trains. The tunnel's blocked off at one end, and they can kind of see walkways being kind of constructed to allow them to get up. So as the player approaches this section of the level, the intensity will ramp up here because there are 5 guards sort of patrolling this sort of abandoned station section, which is where the player's goal is. And there are also kind of multiple options here that the player must make a decision on. There is a left-hand path here. Maybe the door will open. It's kind of a riskier path. There's a central main route for sort of more attack-minded players, and a right route through this kind of door here, which is more of a stealthier approach and takes players a longer way around but avoids combat. So from here I'll probably edit together the different routes you can take. So for now I'll go down the first route. As we saw, heading down the central route was quite tough and definitely more for the attack-minded player. So we have a right and a left route as well. So the left route has a door which presumably leads more into the station, or there's the sort of platform route, but that looks quite tricky in terms of cover, and there is 2 guards sort of patrolling the area. So I think the route to take would be the left door. Let's see what happens if we take that. We have to wait for this guard who's patrolling to get out of the way a little bit. Okay. So we can kind of see the guards patrolling. They haven't seen us. And that guard's not looking, so we can get in this way. Okay, so inside the station a little bit more, we can kind of see options, sort of kind of a cover network for options for the player to kind of be more stealthy and avoid being seen. Or there is a left-hand path here where the player can get to. So we'll try and take the left route. And it looks like there's some cover that will be out in the open here, but I don't think the guard's seen us yet. Okay, it looks like we have some cover here, so we can kind of assess our options again. The player can kind of see the enemy around the cover. Looks good. We can kind of either choose to sneak around without him noticing if we're careful and slow, or we can choose to take him out. I think in this instance we'll kind of be a bit more stealthy and approach the end. So the next route would be the right route, which is generally a more stealthier approach, a little bit longer round. So we would just have to time our sort of drop down. This guard is still patrolling, so once we know he's moved out of the way, we can kind of head down here. Hopefully didn't alert anyone. This route, as I said, is generally a little bit more for the stealth-minded player. It's kind of like a service tunnel around the outside of the tracks. There is a patrolling guard at this point, so we have to be careful. Just be patient and wait for them to pass. As that guard goes, you can kind of see him patrolling the sort of edge of the. We can kind of make it across before he sees us. Whoa. Okay, that didn't go quite well. That's the other option. And then we kind of make maybe a rush for the other players kind of. and the escalators lead us to the end of the level.